Today I want to talk about the biggest problem with AI, and that is actually trust. Can you trust the output of AI? I'm not talking here about something like ChatGPT, where you go in, you ask a question, you get an answer, and can you trust that answer? I'm talking more about in a professional environment. As an engineer, as an analyst, you have a AI system that you ask a question and it generates you a report, a BI report, a sales report, whatever. How can you trust this? That is one of the big things, because look around on the internet. Everybody's hyping it up. Their solution is perfect. Everything works fine. But it isn't. And how can you actually verify? So this is a huge problem, and I don't have an answer for this. So I don't know any good answer. I don't know who's working on that. If you have information about this, drop it in the comments. I like to do a bit of research as well on this. But I want to show you an exact example here from an engineering perspective, where you have problems with AI trust, and you do basically you write a question, is the output correct? So let's look at this. All right, what I'm currently working on is a project where I'm basically looking at pipeline failures, and I want to ask questions about pipeline failures, right? And let me make this a bit bigger. And the thing here is, so what I'm doing is I'm creating basically metadata for DAG runs. And I have a few DAGs: ingestion, fare aggregation, partitioning, partition loading, and so on. And I create runs, I create failures, and a percent of failures. And I create here, these are samples for problems that we have. Right here, schema drift, some warnings that the records have, 0 passenger count and silent deduplication, and so on. Also, basically error codes in this, and then the text for the error codes, right? For some time ranges. Now, my goal with this was, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to ask questions, and I'm going to try to find out what's actually happening. Because I think that is a really cool solution, or really cool problem to have. No, I mean a problem to solve, because we all have that. Data is here and there and in all kinds of systems, but how do we actually find out quickly what's going on? And now the problem is, how do we trust it? So I created here also, so I did the embedding and so on. This is the structure that I'm writing, pipeline jobs and pipeline logs. And then I'm doing embeddings here. See? And then at the end, I'm asking questions. Let me scroll down. I create agents and so on. And then I start asking questions. Can I make this here smaller? Yeah. I'm asking questions regarding what's going on, right? I'm asking, okay, how many pipeline failures occurred in the last 30 days? And it will then give me a number of, in the past 30 days, 40 pipeline failures across different DAGs, 16 failures, and so on, right? This one is more, it gives you, it runs a select statement, and this is easier to get the errors, or to trust it. Now, other things is where I do a log search with the log search tool that is simply going for the vector search and then giving you the result. This is then telling you, okay, we had multiple specific issues here, April 12, 24, 19, and so on, and a bit of information around that. Then the failures per week. Oh no, that was a SQL tool. Log search again here, checking the schema drift, right? Data quality checks. So the question here was, are there data quality jobs running successfully, or are they failing? And then you get this information. Right? Okay, on March 19, on February 28, exited with code 1, and what you could do. Right? Now, and then at the end, you create basically a report for this. Give me the full reliability report based on the previous questions, and then you get a complete report. Now, that report has been created out of the prompts that have been answered before, right? And if the system tells you you had a schema drift issue here and there, how can you trust it that this is true, first? And secondly, if that's the only problem, did it just not get enough data from the vector store to actually analyze this? Did my semantic search not really work so that my question get basically matched to the errors that I have. And these kind of things, I think, like, how do you test this? I don't know how to test this. Of course, you could now run in a controlled environment. If you have that in a controlled environment, you know exactly which errors you have, and you can write tests if that returns the right information. But let's be honest, in reality, when this runs in production, and this is some crucial task, like I want to have a sales report, I want to see how much we earn every month, these kind of things. This needs to deliver you the exact results, and you need to be able to trust it. Back in the day, it was very easy. You had your tables, you run SQL statements. Before that, people were going through Excel sheets and created with some calculations the results. That was very predictable. That was very clear. You can trust it. You have basically the mathematical functions. That's it. Now here, with something like this, that you ask a question and it's going to give you an answer. Okay, this is a log search. I looked in the logs and this is what I get. This can change whenever you run it. It gets you different information. How can you do this? I don't know. But what I want to say here is I think this is a huge problem. People are keeping silent about this because who's talking about this? People who want to sell you something. It's the same thing with OpenClaw, where people, I replaced everything with OpenClaw, now that does everything. Yes. Be careful of this. If you know how to test these kind of things, any libraries, any tools, let me know in the comments. I know of one where they did something like this. I've worked with them last year, arato.com. They basically, you give the LLM the information, it returns it, and then they have basically a comparison how well the fit is, and also they check if there are any like swear words and so on in it. But on a large scale, I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And then see you in the next video.